Welcome to Politics for Patriots. Here's your host, the eviscerator of progressive nonsense, the executioner of imbecility, and the grim reaper of BS, Eddie Zipper.
Trump supporters, conservatives, and everyday Americans in general are pretty much like space aliens to the mainstream media. Totally unpredictable, super scary, but ultimately fascinating. Pundits on CNN talk about us like they're tour guides at the zoo. Ah, yes, this specimen here is of the genus Trumpus votarus. Stand back. They look harmless, but they're actually quite dangerous. I laugh so hard when they try to explain what goes on in my mind, because really they have no clue. They think I'm a space alien, but they sound to me like they're the ones from a faraway world. This is what CNN-type pundits sound like to me when they're trying super hard to understand and explain Trump voters.
This is ancient Earth's most foolish program. Why does Ross, the largest friend, not simply eat the other five?
And you hear that and you just feel bad for Lur because he just doesn't, he can't enjoy Friends because he just doesn't get it. Today I'm going to share with you some numbers from the brand new Harvard-Harris poll. Some of them are probably going to blow your mind. Okay, if you're not familiar, the Harvard-Harris poll is an absolutely fantastic poll. I'm also going to share a link to it on Twitter so that you can go through it yourself. This is the only poll that goes way into the weeds. And every single month when this poll comes out, it just wrecks whatever the mainstream media narrative has been all month long. So all month, the mainstream media will do these anti-Trump narratives and you think, gosh, man, the whole world must hate Trump. And then this poll comes out and it just obliterates their narratives. It's so much fun. I'm a huge fan of the Harvard-Harris poll. It's a great poll. It's probability polling, which is the only kind I look at it all. All right, so here we go. How strong do you think the U.S. economy is? 71% say very strong or strong. 71%. That is a huge number. In terms of polling data, it is extremely difficult to get 71% of people to agree on anything. All right, just to give some examples, according to an old Gallup poll, only 76% of people know which country America declared its independence from. How scary is that? Only 76%. All right, according to a National Science Foundation poll from 2012, only 74% of people believe that the Earth revolves around the sun. Literally, only 74% of Americans believe in a heliocentric solar system where the Earth revolves around the sun. All right, this is absolute proven science for hundreds of years, and only 74% of people are willing to get on board with it. All right, these are adults being polled, by the way. The rest of them, I guess, think that the Earth sits there while the sun revolves around it. Apparently, 26% of Americans live in the Middle Ages. I mean, what must their lives be like? Get up in the morning, throw on some chainmail, go on a quest for religious relics, come home, watch some TV, go to bed, and then do it all again the next day. Only 58% of people believe that if you take two of the same item through the grocery store express lane, that those two items count as separate items. So I'm only allowed to take 15 items through the express lane, but my 10 Snicker bars only count as one item because they're all Snickers bars. Believe me, I've been behind those people in line many, many times. All right, what else do we have here? 51% of people think when you save something to the cloud, it exists on an actual, literal cloud. Like all of our files live up in the clouds with God and Mary Poppins. Geez, as long as we're talking about crazy poll numbers, in the poll I'm actually talking about today, this Harvard-Harris poll, right here in this Harvard-Harris poll, only 94% of people. I set up some suspense there. What do I mean only 94%? What could the rest of that sentence possibly be that I would start it out only 94%? That's a lot. Okay. Only 94% of people in the actual United States of America claim to have ever heard of Donald Trump. What rock underneath a bigger rock underneath a mountain surrounded by woods do that 6% live under? I mean, how do they even have a phone to be included in the poll? I mean, you have a phone that you actually answer and nobody has called you yet? Like, hey man, have you heard about this Donald Trump guy who got elected president? And you're like, no, I've never, who's that? And they're like, you've never heard of him? It's been on the news. I mean, for crying out loud, Trump starred in about 10 of the questions that came before this question on this very poll. They should have at least heard of him when they heard those questions. You know what I think? I think they're lying. I think they just wish they never heard of him. So anyway, the point of all this, getting 71% of people to agree on something is a very tall order. And that's how many people think we have a strong economy right now. And I'll tell you a little secret. It's actually more than 71%. I'll bet 90% of people know that the economy is strong right now, but only 71% are willing to say it. Right? There are lots of people who hear that poll question and they can't divorce it from the fact that Donald J. Trump is president of the United States. Oh, Trump is president. Everything is bad. Everything. Believe me. The 71% is all the Republicans, plus all the independents, plus whatever Democrats haven't taken up permanent residence in the 24-hour media land of anti-Trump hyperventilating. Do you approve of the job President Trump is doing on stimulating jobs? 55% say yes. So, lots of people think we have a strong economy. Fewer people are willing to give President Trump credit for the economy. Do you approve of the job President Trump is doing on the economy? 55% say yes. That's still really high. It's not as high as people who think we have a strong economy. So there are obviously some Democrats out there who aren't willing to look like morons and say the economy is weak. But at the same time, they think that this is some magic Obama residue that he left behind that suddenly started working the minute he got out of office. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. So let's see, what else do you approve of the job President Trump is doing fighting terrorism? Another huge number, 55% say yes, they approve. Immigration. Only 46% approve of the job President Trump is doing on immigration. But that doesn't mean, and the media always tries to fool you with questions like this, but that doesn't mean that only 46% approve of Trump's ideas on immigration. A lot of people on the right probably disapprove of Trump's job on immigration because there is no wall yet. All right, so if you're an immigration hardliner, you're going to answer this question and maybe say, no, I don't approve of the job that President Trump is doing on immigration because where is the wall? I decided to test this one out. So I thought, who is somebody on the right that might disapprove of President Trump's job on immigration? And I immediately thought Ann Coulter. Right? That's her biggest issue. That's why she voted for Trump. If you've ever seen her on TV or heard her on the radio, you know that most other issues, in terms of importance, pale in comparison to immigration for Ann Coulter. So I sent her a direct message on Twitter and asked her how she would answer that poll question. And here's what Ann Coulter said about it. And before I read her response, I want to say thanks to Ann for getting back to me so quickly on this. That was really awesome, and I really appreciate it. And here's what Ann said. You're totally right about the BS poll question. I bet most people who voted for him for the immigration issue have no idea that he's not really getting it done. So yeah, you and I would say no, taking it literally, and 90% of his voters would say yes, meaning thank heaven he's not McCain, Bush, Hillary, or Pelosi on immigration. And thanks to Ann, again, for getting back to me. That was awesome. It confirms to me that a lot of Trump voters who are more hardline on immigration would not yet be willing to say that they approve of the job President Trump is doing on immigration. If they asked me the question, I actually probably would say that I do approve, because unlike people who are going to take a harder line than me, I really liked the compromise Trump offered up to save DACA that would have gotten rid of chain migration and gotten rid of the visa lottery and would have gotten the wall funded in exchange for the path to citizenship for DACA recipients. I thought that was a good compromise. I supported that. And it wasn't Trump's fault it didn't happen. It was the courts who took the DACA deadline off the table. That allowed Democrats to totally obstruct that compromise because there was no deadline anymore. The courts took away President Trump's leverage on that. So I would not blame that on him. I think he's doing about the best job on immigration he could possibly manage with what he has right now in Congress. So I would have given a mediocre yes to this question, but I bet that there are a lot of people in this audience listening right now who would have said no, they don't approve of the job that President Trump is doing on immigration. The point is, the media will try to use that as a measure of how Americans feel about Trump's views on immigration, which it most certainly does not measure. All right, going into the 2018 midterms, approval of the economy right now, and you can see it in this Harvard-Harris poll, it is through the roof. And approval of the job Trump is doing on the economy, that is through the roof. Obama never had economic approval numbers like that going into a midterm. That is for sure. Okay, Obama going into those midterms, he was like in the high 30s. All right, and this is something Democrats are really panicking about. They know that the economy matters. They know that pocketbook issues are super important to voters throughout this country. I mean, most people aren't voting on little tiny goofy wedge issues. You know, most people vote on the big things. Most people, you know, if there's prosperity, most people will go out and vote, yeah, we want more prosperity. Like, the Republican Party is working right now. The economy is prospering. We want more of that. That's what we're going to go vote for. That's how most people vote. And that's why it's got Democrats so afraid right now. They know what the Raging Cajun, what is that guy's name? What is that Raging Cajun guy's name from the 90s? Bill Clinton's guy. I just can't think of his name off the top of my head. But, he was famous for saying, it's the economy, stupid. It's the economy, stupid. And you heard it on TV like 50 times a day. It's the economy, stupid. Democrats love that line when it benefits them. But I promise you, they do not love that line right now. James Carville, that's the guy's name. James Carville. It's the economy, stupid. And Democrats know all this. I'll take you back in time a couple weeks ago. Hop in the Wayback Machine with me and let's fire up the flux capacitor and go back to a month ago when Bill Maher said this. You remember this?
I'm hoping for it because I think one way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy. So please bring on the recession. Yeah. Sorry if that hurts people, but it's either root for a recession or you lose your democracy.
Yeah, so he seems real hinged. Ooh, I hope there's a recession that will hurt millions of people in this country. Ooh, because then Democrats will win elections. Maybe he should wish for the Democrats to have an idea or something to run on other than Trump is bad. I hate Donald Trump. You know, maybe if they had something better than that to run on, then you wouldn't have to pray for a recession. All right, so generally people don't vote against prosperity. I mean, obviously that doesn't include Democrats, of course. That's all Democrats do is vote against prosperity. The more people who prosper, the fewer people who need what the Democrats are offering up. Right? That's what the Democrats, they count on dependency. That's Democrat bread and butter. Dependency. They're the party of government dependency. I mean, they freaking can't stand people who can live their life independent of the government. They want you to need the government to get anything done. I need a job. Where's my government? Oh, I need to get out of bed in the morning. Where's my government? I need to eat. Where's my government? I need to sleep. Where's my government? Everything you need to do, you need the government. You're just totally dependent on it for every minute of your life. All right. Think of it like this. There's a zombie apocalypse. Okay? There's a zombie apocalypse. Half the population has been wiped out. There are no more services. No running water. No power. Society has collapsed. Okay, you have to pick 3 people you know to team up with. All right, they're going to be your zombie apocalypse survival team. Okay, so I'm not going to rush you. Go ahead, think about it for a second, and pick your 3 people. They have to be people you know. All right. It's too bad it would be a copyright violation to play the Final Jeopardy music. That would be perfect right now. Do 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 do. I think it would be a fair use, but when it comes to copyright law, you cannot be too careful. In music, you cannot play one single note that isn't your original music that you own or that you've paid for. Okay. Hopefully that little lesson on copyright law gave you enough time to think of who is on your team. It's not as catchy as the Jeopardy music, but it gets it done. I bet you anything, everyone you picked is a Republican or a Libertarian. And I don't mean the abortion and marijuana libertarians. I mean the actual freedom-loving libertarians. Mine all are. The 3 people I picked are all conservatives or libertarians. All right? Nobody wants to fight zombies with Democrats. Sorry, Democrats, but it is a fact. Your Che Guevara t-shirt can't save you in zombie-ridden post-apocalyptic America. Your cultural sensitivity is useless in this wasteland. Anyone who requires a giant bureaucracy to solve all their problems need not apply to accompany my zombie apocalypse team. We don't need you. Right, that's why I hate the identity groups that are at the center of liberal identity politics. Male and female. Black and white. I mean, that doesn't really say that much about people. If I got to create the identity groups, oh, that would be awesome. That would be the best. I would pick things like that. Like, most likely to survive the zombie apocalypse. That would be a great identity group. All right? I will be part of that identity group any day of the week. All right? I would pick things that really say something about people. My identity groups would be stuff like people who mow their own grass. And the news would be like, oh, the exit polls are in, and it looks like people who mow their own grass voted overwhelmingly for President Trump. Other identity groups who broke for Trump include people whose feet hurt when they get home from work at the end of the day, and people who know how to fix their own car. Meanwhile, candidate Hillary Clinton absolutely dominated among people who own 2 or more pieces of pretentious art, and cleaned Trump's clock among people who think George Clooney was the best Batman. Break me into those identity groups, please. Pit those people against me. I am begging you. Of course, you couldn't really have an identity group of people who think that George Clooney was the best Batman, because I'm pretty sure those people are non-existent. That is 0% of people. That's one thing probably you could find 100% of people to agree on, that George Clooney was not the best Batman.
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
It's so awful. Oh, you are the worst. Hey, Freeze, I'm Batman. He was just the worst ever. All right, so you know who really comes off bad in this Harvard-Harris poll? Omarosa. They didn't use her name, but you know it's her. There's another identity group that I'm dying to be lumped into. People who think Omarosa is a ridiculous moron and want her to disappear from their TV. I completely identify with that group. All right, so here are the Omarosa questions. Do you consider it acceptable or unacceptable for a White House aide to secretly record the president during closed-door policy deliberation? 62% say unacceptable. Everyone else is obviously a silly hypocrite who hates Trump. There can be no other way. All right, change president in that question to President Obama, and the numbers will change quite suddenly, I assure you. All right, 59% not only think it's unacceptable, but think it should be punishable by law. 80% of people think that leaks should be illegal, while 21% think leaks are important for informing the public and should not be made illegal. Obviously, those 21% of people all work in the media. Anonymous sources are super important and informative. How else would we know whether or not the President of the United States said a naughty word in a private meeting? Without anonymous source leaks, what in the world would we fill the airwaves with for 24 hours every single day? We're trying to create content here. How can we do that if we don't know that the president gets an extra scoop of ice cream or that he drinks 12 Diet Cokes a day? Here comes the really great part of the poll. Oh, this is what I've been waiting to see. Let's see how angry the American people are about John Brennan losing that security clearance. The media has promised me that it is an attack on the very foundations of liberty. So let's just see how mad folks are about this. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. The media sets up narratives all month long, and then the Harvard-Harris poll just obliterates them. All right, so should national security officials who become consultants and TV news contributors retain or give up their security clearance? 60% say. That makes me feel like I'm the host of the Family Feud. I feel like I'm hosting Family Feud right now. All right. Should national security officials who become consultants and TV news contributors retain or give up their security clearance? Survey says, ding, 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 give it up is the number one answer. 60% of people say give it up if you want to be on TV. 60% say give it up if you want to be a consultant. But the media promised me that was an attack on freedom. Good job on that one, media. I mean, gosh, you were so close on that one.
Just a bit outside.
Yeah, they were just off the corner of the plate on that one. All right, 57% say that Brennan should have lost his security clearance after he started making public statements. Well, I guess Americans hate freedom in large numbers if freedom is defined as John Brennan being entitled to a security clearance. All right, next question. I kid you not, this is the question. Should former FBI Director Comey and others at the FBI who were fired or demoted over their actions retain or lose their national security clearance? 64% of Americans say that they should lose it. That is awesome. The media thought they were whipping up a giant cloud of anti-Trump anger by pretending that John Brennan and his security clearance are basically the same as Rosa Parks and her bus seat. Big swing and a miss on that one, media.
Just a bit outside.
America says take all the clearances. They're with Trump in huge giant majorities. Oh, I don't know how the media thinks that, like, I mean, they think nobody is with Donald Trump on anything. They think everybody is with them. And then every month this Harvard-Harris poll comes out, and it just shows that the media just has their finger nowhere near the pulse of the American people. They're on another planet. It just shocks me how oblivious these people are to the opinions of anyone who lives outside their little bubble. It is astounding, really. 37% of people think Trump should be impeached. Look at that. They love another big loser issue. I mean, if it weren't for horrendously unpopular ideas, the Democrats and their media would have no ideas at all. All right, but here's an actual winning issue. All right, take note, mainstream media, take note, Democrats. This is what a winning issue looks like. Huge majority, 58%, think that endless investigations of Trump are hurting the country. That's a home run. They clearly are. A majority of Americans now know that the Mueller investigation exists for no other reason than to try to get Trump by any means possible. 76%. Man, that is huge. 76% say that the FBI and Justice Department need to turn over whatever documents Congress asks for. 76%. All right? The FBI and Justice Department turning over documents to Congress is more popular than the concept of a heliocentric solar system. Or was it the same? I can't even remember anymore. But either way, I mean, okay, that's how obvious it is to everyone. The New York Times thinks that you are a traitorous conspiracy theorist if you think that. Meanwhile, outside the walls of the New York Times building, 76% of Americans think that. Well, I guess we're all crazy, and the New York Times is just, oh, they're so super smart. You know, the New York Times building is the modern-day Oracle of Delphi. We don't know anything, ask the Oracle. Or, you know, it's possible maybe they just have a political agenda. Yeah, now that I think about it, it's that one. Oh, goody. Here's some more proof that most Americans are conspiracy theorists. Only 28% think the FBI did an objective investigation of Hillary Clinton. Nice work on that one, Mr. Higher Loyalty. 28% think that you did an objective investigation. And guess what? Those 28%, they're wrong. A large majority of Americans believe the investigation of Trump began due to bias at the FBI. This is also shocking. I mean, that's obvious if you had the pleasure of listening to arrogant scumbag Peter Strzok when he testified before Congress. I could keep going and going through this poll. I'm going to post a link to it on Twitter so you can go through the whole thing if you want. Just find my Twitter account. It's at Eddie Zipper. That's at EDDIEZIPPERER. Click on the link. Go through this Harvard-Harris poll. It's fantastic. I couldn't possibly read the whole thing. They include so many questions. I always wonder, like, who sat on the phone this long answering these questions? I mean, I could never do it. You know, I answer the phone. First of all, if it's a number I've never seen before, I don't even answer. But, you know, on some chance, say I answer, they're going to be like, hi, we are calling about a political... I'm hanging up, like, at that moment. So kudos to all these people who sat there and answered these bajillion questions from Harvard Harris. I'm glad they did. But I could keep going through this thing and going through it. But find it on my Twitter. Go through it yourself. It's fantastic. The reason I went through it on the show, the big takeaway here that's important to me is that the mainstream media has no idea what Americans think. And more importantly, they have no influence over what Americans think. I mean, they're feeding us this narrative for a month. Like, good example, the John Brennan thing. They feed us this narrative for a month that, oh my gosh, John Brennan, freedom has been attacked because John Brennan lost his security clearance. And they talk about it all month, and they have every expert on the planet come on and say, oh God, freedom is gone. And then after all that, after a whole month of that, giant majority of Americans agree with Trump. It's just, the takeaway is that Americans aren't listening to the media. The media is destroying their influence by doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on all of this nonsense and all of these things that nobody cares about. Right? If you take in lots of media, and I do, I mean, I read this stuff all the time. I watch CNN, I read the New York Times, I read the Washington Post, because I want to know what they're saying. I don't believe everything I read. I mean, I look at the sourcing on it. I see where it's from. I know when it's real. I know when it's BS. But you can get sucked right into their bubble and start thinking that the nonsense they harp on matters to tons and tons of people across the country. It totally doesn't. Remember that when you hear this stuff nonstop. It is designed to gaslight you, but it is not working. All right, so when you're neck deep into political Twitter, or take in too much CNN, or read pretty much any opinion piece in the Washington Post or the New York Times, myriads of other publications, remember, opinions in Mirror are less important than they appear. All right, that was a blast. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Before I go out, I'm going to beg you for a couple things. Number one, if you could subscribe to the show on iTunes or leave a review on iTunes, that would be fantastic for me. I hope you'll email me with your comments on all of this. My email is patriots@eddiezipper.com. That's patriots@EDDIEZIPPERER.com. Special thanks to Ann Coulter for helping me out with this episode. That's it. I'm out of here.
Why does Ross, the largest friend, not simply eat the other 5?
You just listened to Politics for Patriots with Eddie Zipper. Email the show at patriots@eddiezipper.com and please subscribe.